Awesome. Well, I have with me today the world famous Chris Jones, who just published a book. It's so awesome. Chris is a writer, editor, writing mentor, and podcast host. Oh, and also he's a husband and a father. Well, Chris, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Rocco, for having me on.
Awesome. Yeah, with everything going on, I'm like, man, how do I score this interview? This is some good stuff.
I tell you what, man, I don't even know how I'm standing most days. You know, with a newborn baby, trying to promote a book, working. I don't know.
Yeah, lots of coffee. Coffee.
Lots
Tell
of
me you
coffee.
don't drink coffee, and then I'm gonna.
I keep my Starbucks card full.
Okay. Awesome. Well, let's before we get sort of into like the reasoning, the details, and all the meat and potatoes, if you will, or as you said, you were cooking chili, and I've got spaghetti. Till we get into the meal of this, why don't you tell me a little more about who you are, other than writer, editor, writing mentor. Just tell us a little about yourself.
Sure. Well, I grew up in Virginia, and I grew up really artsy as a kid. You know, I grew up writing, drawing, just adventuring outdoors. I've always been a person who's just in touch with nature, love being in nature, just inspired by it. And then once I got through high school, which you know how it is once you just cross that chasm of I just need to finish. Once I finished high school. Wasn't sure what I wanted to do with my life. I wasn't convinced that I should go to college. And so I decided that I would just work instead. I would work, and I had journals. I wrote, on the in-between. But then I got injured at work, tore my ACL. I was working at Pepsi-Cola, blew out my ACL on the job.
No.
Yeah.
As a runner, I'm like, how long is it going to be till I can run again?
Yeah. So I blew out the ACL on the job. And so as I'm sitting, at home recovering, not sure what I'm going to do because I can't work, and, back in, the late 90s, surgery wasn't what it is now. Like they scope you now, you're back to work like in 3 days, it seems.
Yeah.
Back then
they actually do it at work on your lunch break.
Exactly. So I'm in a cast and my mom was like, hey, so any of that stuff I talked to you about going to college kind of sink in? I was like, well, I've got nothing better to do.
Might as well, right?
Yeah, so I enrolled in community college, man, and I really fell in love with school again. Because when you're in high school, man, it's just not as fun. But then once you're kind of controlling your own destiny and deciding the things that you want to do, the classes you like, then it became fun. So I got a mentor. My art teacher became my mentor just accidentally. She just stumbled across the talent that I had and said, hey, you have a real gift for creativity and art. And so she gave me a bunch of side projects, and then I began to collaborate with another one of my students in the class, and we did projects together. And then eventually I ended up going to school in Pittsburgh and studying and getting a degree in art, which, it ended up serving me very well on the marketing side of writing. But I've always been in love with writing, and when I got back to Virginia after going to school, I took a job at a newspaper. And at the newspaper, I was working in the production department, doing all the graphic design stuff and all the pre-press things for the pressmen. And they had a job posting each week for a sports writer, but nobody was biting on it. And
that sounds like fun.
Yeah, I was so into sports, and I loved it. And so I went to the sports editor, and I said, hey, can I take a shot? And he said, well, I'll talk to the managing editor and get back to you. So he talked to her. She said, yeah. He said, okay, I'm going to give you your first assignment on Friday night. I took an assignment during high school football, came in Monday morning, had a note on my desk to go see the publisher. I was like, uh-oh.
What'd you do, man?
I was like, man, I must have been epically bad. So I went to the publisher. He's like, I've gotten so many great comments on your story.
That's so great.
He said, I think we need to move you out of production and into sports full time.
ESPN, here I come.
Yeah, so that's where it kind of took off. So I got my feet wet in writing. I loved it. And I've kind of gone back and forth between writing and design for a number of years. I ran a design studio for about 5 years. And then I felt the burnout. And my wife, she saw it coming. She said, when you talk about writing, you really, really light up. When you talk about design, it's like depression.
It doesn't.
Yeah. She said, I know that you're good at it. I know it's a natural talent of yours, but writing is something that I just feel like comes from your heart. And so she said, do it. And so I said, okay. So I took out a journal and I gave myself a 100-day challenge. I'm going to write for 100 days and figure out how to go from being a designer to a writer in the next 100 days. And so I took that challenge, and then it all just fell into place. I got opportunities to become a writer and ended up becoming an editor of a magazine by the time it was all done.
Wow. Hey, real quick, your microphone is rubbing against your collar.
Is it?
I don't know how that'll sound in post. I don't want it to be.
Uh-oh. I wonder.
Although your mic might be, I'm sure you have another mic, but I could tell it's rubbing on your like.
Oh! I wonder if the mic in here is picking up. Let me.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Let me.
And it's not that bad in my ear, but I know in post, like listening to it in the car, I was like, "Oh, it's gonna hurt."
All right, let me.
Sorry, I wanted to let you. I'll edit this part out, but I wanted to let you finish that thought. But I'm like, "Oh man, the little things."
Yeah. Let me switch into my earbuds then, because I don't want it to keep rubbing, and those will probably
you
fall.
got the cool beats on too, man.
Oh no! All right, hold on.
Yeah.
All right, there we go.
Oh, the things we do for our craft. If you weren't a podcaster, I probably would have I wouldn't have said anything. But I know you want it to sound good.
That's totally. Is that better?
Yeah, yeah, night and day. Now we have the same ones on.
Yeah, there we go.
So you're telling your story about the sports, being a sports editor, and the design, and you said something that's so true of so many people, that you did not have this passion for design, but you had passion for writing, and it took a while to discover that.
It did.
You were good at it. You were good at design, but you weren't passionate about it, and you had to go into writing. You knew it. That was the way to go.
That was the way to go. Like I said, the design, the design serves so well on the writing side, because now I understand the aesthetics of marketing. I understand how to market things. I understand how branding works. So I felt like that road had to be traveled for me to be more effective being the writer that I am now. And even just writing this book, all of it comes together. Both sides of it come together. Now I'm able to talk to both sides of it and be able to help other people who are great writers but can't market or design, because I get all that stuff.
Yeah, Chris, I think that's what's going to set this book apart from, there's a lot of books out there that talk about how to write and the methods to write and what to do. But there's something different, not just out of your experience, but what you put into the book. And we'll get into some of the stuff in a minute, but know that it's that experience of, it's not just writing a book. Because I wrote a book and I sold 2 copies to my mastermind coach, and I think my dad bought a copy. But I had no passion to try to market it. I just didn't want to do it, and I just moved on to the next thing. It wasn't a big deal for me, but this podcast was the next thing, right? So many people, it's like, just write the book. Let's get the book written. But I think after reading your book, I really see that that's just like where that's like training for a marathon, and now it's the gun goes off. It gets you to the starting line, but not to the finish line.
Yeah, I mean, when I did an episode with J.V. Crum, and he said he had learned, and it stuck with me. He said writing is 5%, marketing is 95%. Once you finish your book, that's just the beginning. Now you've got to figure out how to sell it. And then another episode, I think it was before that, was Katie Humphrey, and she said, Guy Kawasaki was talking about how there are no awards for best writing author, only best selling. So he said, I'm not even a great writer, but I'm a great seller. I sell books. That's why I'm good.
That's so true, because the best book ever, probably the best book ever, has never been bought by anyone, because it was probably like some really crazy, awesome writer living in a cabin somewhere that didn't know how to sell his book, right?
Yeah.
And no one ever read it. So who cares, right? If no one reads it, it doesn't do anybody good.
That's just it. And that's one of the challenging things. There's so many people who write really awesome books. I mean, I'm in writers groups online, different things, and I'm like, wow, these people are writing some really good books. But then that's where it kind of ends.
Yeah, and I've read some books that somehow came across my desk. I like you, I'm a reader. I love to read, and I've read some stinkers. Like, wow, how did this thing get published? And I finally learned the rule of it's okay to not finish a book. Right, right. How hard is it to let a book go? Okay, I paid $8 for this book. I'm going to set it down. I'm done with it.
Did you learn that from Tim Ferriss?
I don't remember. Yeah, that sounds
Yeah,
like
that's
very
what
Tim
I learned
Ferriss.
from Tim Ferriss. Tim Ferriss like just quit stuff that doesn't work. I'm like, you know what, man? Yeah,
That's
quitting isn't a bad thing. You know, it's not as bad as you make it. If stuff's not productive, quit.
That's it, man. Oh goodness. Well, so your book is, and I definitely don't want to give away everything in the book because I want people to buy this book.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to send your children to college with this book and all this good stuff. So, but it's broken down. It's so easy to read. I got a great deal on it on Amazon, which you probably should have sold it for more. I don't know, but I got a great deal on Amazon. I bought it. I downloaded it.
Yeah.
But it's worth more.
Did you catch it on my launch weekend, the launch weekend at the beginning of January?
Yeah, it was. I'm
That's
like, man, he's almost
yeah,
paying me to do. Like, no, like no, this is worth way more than what I paid for. It's broken down into 3 sections, which I'm a sections kind of guy. I like to be able to break things up and say, okay, what is in this area and this area. So, the first part, becoming a writer. The second part, building your brand, and the third part, promoting your brand. So I wanted to just kind of, and if you have some other areas you want to talk about, just jump in. But so a couple of things some questions I wanted to ask you about these sections that I think my audience will really get. I like to get geeky sometimes. I know last time we talked, we got off the air, we got really geeky. So I want to get a little bit into that. The first thing you talk about is. You know what? I want to back up a little bit because there was something at the beginning of the book before you even got into these sections that you talked about from Lord of the Rings. You remember what I'm talking about?
I do.
So why don't you tell me a little? I want you to tell that if you remember. It doesn't have to be word for word, but this is not just for writing. This little thing that you say, it's for everything in life.
Yeah, it was that scene, when they finally decide, Samwise and Frodo decide we're going to go on this adventure. We're gonna take this ring and we're gonna toss that sucker. So they're coming across the Shire and they get to the edge and Samwise is like, hey, if I take one more step, it'll be the farthest I've ever gone from home. And then Frodo reaches over to him and gives him his hand and says, Sam, let's go. And that's really the journey of writing, man. It's like, hey, let's go. And that's what I wanted to do with the book, just take you on that journey of, hey, okay, you've made this decision that you want to come out of the Shire, you want to come out of the hole of being a closet writer. Now you want to be real. Let's do this.
That's if people take nothing away from this interview, that's the one thing is like you just have to step out of the Shire, step out of where you've always been, the cliche, out of your comfort zone or whatever. And again, it's not just about writing. There's so many things in life that I can't believe I almost forgot to mention that, but that's so powerful. That was
thanks.
Really good, man. You had me hooked. You had me at hello, right?
Well, I mean, that's the reaction I want. I want people to get excited about that because it is just a decision. It is a choice to leave behind what you're comfortable with, what you already know, and just take that chance. You don't know what kind of adventure your writing is going to take you on. I had no idea that writing 100 days would take me to being the editor of a magazine, then from there to being the editor-in-chief of another magazine to writing a book. Yeah. I had no idea.
Yeah,
I had no idea that's where it was going to take me.
So, and that's a great segue right into the first section about becoming a writer. What are and you write a lot, you share a lot of these tips in your story and how you became a writer in this. So for the guy out there who's got a job and a wife and a kid and just like you, who's I want to be a writer. I have this creative disease. Is that what we'll call it? It's a disease. That we all have. It's like, oh, why do I have to be creative? I have this desire to write something.
Itch.
Yeah. What can you tell them to get that process started and to make it work?
Buy a journal. That's where it all begins. Everything. I don't care who you are. It can be you want to be a writer. You can be whatever it is you want to be, a bodybuilder. I don't care. Everything begins with your writing. Everything begins in starting a journal. Just sitting down every morning with your cup of coffee or your smoothie or whatever it may be, and just longhand writing, just stream of consciousness thoughts, man. Just things out of your head because it's amazing the kind of things that are pent up inside of our minds that we have no idea, like subconsciously, they're just hanging in there,
Yeah.
And that's what I recommend. Just start with that, writing those things down, and then as those things start to develop and show themselves, then start framing affirmations around those things. Okay, I feel like that. This journal, this whole mindset is telling me that I need to be a writer. What does that mean? Okay, well, I'm afraid of writing. Well, now I need to figure out an affirmation that's going to take me from fear to prosperity. Okay, well, I'm a good writer. I've got to start to learn to believe that. I've got talent. There are people who want to hear what I have, and just start to frame all that stuff together through affirmations after that. And then read those every day. Get up and stand in front of your mirror. It sounds stupid. It looks stupid. It's just you in the mirror. Who cares at the end of the day? But I keep mine in my iPhone. I'll open them up every day and I read my affirmations while I drink my coffee. Hey, I'm a great writer. I'm going to sell 1 million books. Whatever the affirmations you have may be, just read them, because you have to learn to believe in yourself. And that's the first start. Is how you talk to yourself really determines the path you're going to go on.
Yeah. You talk about. I want to say you mentioned imposter syndrome. You were talking a little bit about imposter syndrome in there.
Yeah.
And that's it. Those affirmations, and I'm hearing more and more people talking about the need for that self-talk. And trying to remember, I was listening to a podcast this morning, and someone said that I've got to stop. What did he say? I've got to stop listening to myself and start talking to myself. I'm totally stealing that from someone. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Cliff Ravenscraft, but I'm not 100% sure. But I heard that, and that makes me think of these affirmations.
Yeah, it's funny, man. A few years ago, my old pastor, his name is Brett Hammond, he said that, when you look through scripture and you talk, and he says that every time God wanted to manifest something, he made you say it out loud.
Yeah.
He made Moses speak to the rock. He made Moses talk to this. He made Joshua say that. He made Isaiah speak, say this, say that. So it's like that's that's age old, man. Just speaking things out loud and speaking things into existence is an age old practice.
There's something powerful about that. And then, back on the journaling thing, to journal it, and you may not be saying it, but you're writing it. But if you just leave it in your head, it's not the same thing as writing it.
No, it loses a lot of power. When you actually can get it from your head to your hand, that's when you really start to believe it, because you're forcing yourself to believe it. You're seeing it. You're making yourself write that stuff down.
Yeah.
I am a good writer. My work is good. I'm going to produce something people want to read.
Yep. And here and it's led you to where you're at now.
Absolutely.
The other thing that I took a note here that really, and I've done this before, is this avatar thing, this idea of the avatar. Walk us through your avatar, how you came up with the avatar, in just the Reader's Digest version of what an avatar is.
Yeah. Well, an avatar really is whoever your ideal audience is. So basically just pick what that person looks like. I learned this from Kate Erickson, actually. I learned it from Kate Erickson, EO Fire. She's the one who really introduced me to the concept of what an avatar is, as opposed to a target market. It basically, you're taking your target market, and condensing it into one individual person. So it's like you're having a conversation with another person. So basically, your avatar, my avatar would be, I think I've put it in the book, some 24-year-old female who likes to, who's into fitness, who wants to work out, who wants to be a writer, has a day job, not sure where to go, what to do, but wants to learn how to do it. Wants to learn the processes. She reads blogs, she's on Twitter, whatever the case may be, and so basically, then every decision you make about your brand runs through that avatar. Will my avatar like it if I do this? Will my avatar respond if I do that? And it helps you stay true to your brand at all times.
Yeah, and I think, and forgive me, I didn't write the name down, but you did name your avatar. And
I named her Sarah.
Sarah, there you go.
Yeah, and the reason I did it because, in every business I've ever had, like most of my clients have always been women. So like, natural fit that, okay, well, my avatar is going to be a woman. And when I look at my statistics for anything I do, it's always like that age group of women, 24 to 35. Boom.
There you go.
Hey,
This avatar thing, and I learned this summer. It changes everything, because when you're trying to market, when you're trying to talk, what we're doing, writing and speaking to an audience, you're trying to speak to everybody. You speak to nobody. You speak to that one person. You're speaking to that person. You know what that person needs and what that person wants. And I'm really glad you put that in the book, because I think a lot of newer writers, they don't get that. I'm almost 40 years old, and I just, from my coaching this last summer, that was the first time I thought Avatar was a movie with blue people. Right? I didn't know what that was.
The guy with the arrowhead,
Yeah. It was a cool movie, but I'm like, what's it have to do with my writing and my podcast?
Yeah, exactly.
So I think there's a lot of people out there that don't understand that concept.
Yeah, but it helps you to niche in deeper. So it helps you to really to streamline your process very well.
That's another one. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, cut you off.
No, just so you know just so you have an idea of what you're trying to do. Because I mean, like you said before, if you try to target everybody, you get nobody.
Yeah. That's one of those things I should say. If you don't get any, I've already used this one, but if you don't get anything out of this podcast, this is one to get. Now we have 2 of those. So this is good.
Yeah.
Avatar is a huge one.
It is.
Yeah, let's get a little geeky here and talk about the tools, the writing tools you use, because I love to get geeky. What do you use for journaling? What do you use for writing? And what are your favorite stuff? Maybe you're an advanced person. Maybe tell us a little bit about that, and then of course let's help the entry level person as well.
Yeah. Now, I'm pretty basic when it comes to writing. I like to do everything longhand first. I mean, that's everything from writing a note to journaling to writing a 3,000 word article. Everything starts on paper for me. I'm just old school like that.
Wow.
I write everything down because it's the process. It's just my head to hand is so strong. Like if I have to write an article by looking on a screen, I paralyze. I can't do it.
Wow.
But yeah, so I write everything.
I
I write everything by hand first because it helps me to articulate all my thoughts a lot better.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there's no fancy schmancy. You did mention some stuff like.
But I do use a lot of apps. Like I'm a person who really firmly believes that you write wherever you are. So I've got Evernote. I use Evernote faithfully. I use it to voice record. I mean, there were times when my family and we'd be in Busch Gardens, and I'm sitting in the line waiting for the roller coaster. I'm like, well, it's a 15-minute wait. Well, that's 15 minutes I get to write while I wait.
That's
and it would take the edge off.
Man.
So I would just open up Evernote and start writing chapters of my book. I mean, some of this book was written, in the grocery store. It was written at amusement parks. It was written at people's parties. I just wrote wherever.
You mean it wasn't like a cabin in the woods, like the
cliched, no, that whole idea I threw out the window years ago. There's no such thing unless I'm getting paid to write full time.
The dream is gone. Yeah.
I just write where I can. So yeah, I just steal 15 minutes here, 30 minutes there, and you just write wherever. So yeah, Evernote is a big thing for me. Trying to think of what else I write, and I use the Dragon software where I would just talk my notes in.
Okay.
Just let it transcribe in, and then copy and paste it in.
How about Day One? You ever use Day One?
I've tried Day One so many times. I can't journal again. I can't journal unless it's free.
It's free. You're right. Yeah.
I've tried so many times. So I was like, I just love the interface. I want it to work for me, but
I want it, but it doesn't.
I want you to want me, but
I want you to want to do the dishes.
A square peg in a round hole when it comes to like that level of digital. But with my phone, I mean, I can do everything on my phone. I can go totally digital in my phone and actually write just like I do with pencil and paper, but just on a laptop, I just can't do it the same way.
Well, that for the people listening or watching, it's whatever works for you.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. That's why I put all those resources in there. Hey, you can try this, you can try that, you can try this, because every writer's different.
Yeah.
Every writer has a different style. I mean, like I said, there are people I talk to who say they're 100% digital. Hey, more power to you, man. I'm glad you can do it that way. Whatever gets you writing, do it, man.
Yeah. The last one I wanted to ask you about was Scrivener, and I had a hard time with it. It was really seemed kind of complex to me.
Well, initially it is, but Scrivener actually is. It's a writer's best friend.
Okay.
It really is, because just the way you can compartmentalize. I mean, I learned even more later. I read a post by Michael Hyatt on how he uses Scrivener. I was like, oh my goodness, now I'm a Scrivener power user thanks to Michael Hyatt.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, because he talks about, hey, I keep my books in there, I keep all my blog posts in there, I keep all of this in there. I mean, he keeps everything in his Scrivener. I'm like, I never thought of that. So now I do the same thing. All my blog posts, everything hangs out in Scrivener, and I just call it when I need it.
Wow. Okay. I might have to give it a second chance. I don't know.
It's worth it, man. You can really organize your writing well in Scrivener.
It's powerful. It's very powerful.
It is.
Now, Michael? So the people listening to this who want to get interested in it, I'll look up the post and I'll make sure before I put it on that it was the one. I know I'm a big follower of Michael Hyatt too, so he's got great stuff. When he recommends something, he shows people how to use it as well.
Yeah.
And that's how I got Day One. In fact, he had a template for Day One and I've kind of gotten away from journaling, which I want to get back into. But he has a template that I just use the text expander and use every day for just kind of gets your mind around it. So yeah, also I'll see if I can find that and put that in the show notes. Section 2, you get into the building your brand stuff, and this is stuff where I really get. This is me. This last year, I've been doing this myself, learning how to build a website and everything. Tell us about that process of building a blog and choosing the right platform and WordPress.com or WordPress.org or whatever, free, all this stuff.
Building a brand, I mean, I started off with the business card because that's the first thing everybody wants to get. I need to get a business card. I mean, some people don't. A lot of writers are like, well, what do I need a business card for? You always need a business card. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
Because you're going to want to, get people to get your book. Well, go to my Amazon page and look me up. People forget that by the time they get in their car.
They've already forgot your name. You're like, who's that guy again?
Who is that guy? Some guy talked to me about a book tonight. I don't know. So I start off by talking about, just developing, your logo, which is important. You definitely want to have a presence. You don't want to go without a presence. So thinking about, okay, well, what am I going to want to be represented as when I'm online? So creating that, whether it's a typographical logo, whether it's an image-based logo, and then how to go about creating that.
Okay.
So we talk about that in the beginning, why it's important to really utilize all of your business card, putting all your information on there, and then developing the website like we talked about. And then also just kind of a clinic on color, like why color matters, why fonts matter. Because that's the one thing I think people don't get is that fonts do matter.
Yeah. What's the one you said that I can't remember, but I remember reading it and I Googled to not use a certain font, and I'm like making sure I'm not using that font.
I mean, there like Comic Sans, Papyrus, Curls. I mean, there's so many that people just fall in the trap. Like, oh, that's a cute font. Brush script. You're like, oh yeah, it's cute, but it's not going to get the job done.
I think I've got Helvetica using.
Oh, Helvetica's good. Helvetica's clean.
Okay.
Yeah, you're safe.
No, I just totally blew it by the way I pronounced it too. This amateur. Rocco's such an amateur.
But helping people understand that hey, you need to have just a little bit of knowledge on the design side. Know what you're getting yourself into, because it's important to make sure your brand is cohesive from your logo to your cards and then into your website. Like you said before, just getting a self-hosted WordPress. So going to whether you go to Bluehost or GoDaddy or whatever the case may be, just getting your website self-hosted. I think Michael Hyatt refers to this to if you do the WordPress.com, you're building on rented land.
Oh yeah.
And anytime WordPress decides, hey, we're not going to serve this anymore, update, you're stuck. So making sure that you have your own platform already built, and plus having your own self-hosted website gives you a chance to make your website scalable, whereas the WordPress.org isn't as scalable.
Yeah, and it's so cheap to get started.
It is.
And I know I don't have one on my site, but I know a lot of bloggers have videos, 10-minute videos on how to at least get started.
It's a simple process.
Yeah, so for anyone listening, you don't have one like that on your website, do you? I don't remember seeing that. Like a link on how to do a website. Did I lose you?
There's so many resources.
Oh, I lost you for a second there.
You got me?
Yeah, you're back. You're back.
Okay. No, I don't, because there are so many resources already out there on how to start a WordPress site.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have one either. I'll point someone to a good. I think Michael Hyatt has a good video, and
he does,
and he uses Bluehost. At least the last time I to use Blue, that's what I use, and I think that's what you use too.
Yeah.
So that's the easiest.
I use GoDaddy actually.
Oh, you host on GoDaddy?
I've been with GoDaddy since 2008, so I was like, yeah.
Oh,
they've been good to me.
I didn't even know they did hosting. I know that's where I get my domain names at.
Yeah, get cheap domains, but I've been hosting with them for
my growing addiction to buying domain names.
I know. It's addictive. You're like, I need to get this domain name. Let me hang on to this one too.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. So this is certainly blogging, and so we talked about the blogging, setting up a blog, having the details are important, and you get into great detail in the book, so people can buy the book and they could get into that detail. And at the end of this, we'll find a way for them to contact you as well if they have more questions on those details. That's important. It doesn't seem that important, but I totally get it. That with like colors and font sizes and all that. One of the things that you really that I'm not very strong at, that I want to work on, and I underline this here, is that lucrative referral network. How important that is. I mean, you're and you're not just talking about referrals of people like buying your books, but referrals of getting ideas on what to write about. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I came through the school of B&I years ago when I first started my design business. That was the first thing I did. I joined B&I. Like, I need a networking group that's serious. So I joined in,
What
and
is
just
BNI? Sorry.
BNI stands for Business Networking International.
Okay.
And was founded by Dr. Ivan Misner, who's a kind of, a massive authority on networking and, business relationships. So I joined that, and it's an international group, and got involved in that and started making money pretty rapidly. And the whole premise is giver's gain. Basically, I'm giving to you, you're giving to me, we're working together. And so building a network is important for a writer. You may not think like, oh, I'm just writing a book, but the thing is you got to think about, people look at writers as connectors because we're writing things, we know people. Automatically, we're connected to different things that most people may not have access to. And so now we become this referral point for people. Hey, I know this writer who may be able to help you with X, Y, and Z, or who may know X, Y, and Z, because we're connected to different sources. So the importance of building a strong referral network not only benefits you, but it benefits other people. So if you're going in with the mindset that I'm going to, collect business cards and learn about other people's businesses so that I can refer them out, they're more inclined to refer back to you. Hey, I know this writer who's got this great book, or whatever the case may be. Or if you're not writing a book, maybe you're on the journalism track, or you want to start selling stories to magazines and publications, then these business relationships you develop also help give you source material, because every magazine or every newspaper you write for, they're going to want to know how deep your source list is.
Yeah, I'm losing you again. Let's let it catch up here.
You got me?
Let's let the lag catch up again. If there's just a little lag, I don't know. Somebody must be turning on the microwave or something. This is live TV. Live TV. This is why I didn't do Blab. Blab, I had this happen nonstop. It was just too much. It was driving me insane. So the lucrative, the referral network, it's key, and this is where a lot of people struggle. A lot of people struggle, and they just think they could show up, and they show up to a meeting or a conference and just jump in. Here's my business card. Here's my business card. So that person who's maybe kind of shy, who doesn't quite get it, who's maybe apt to make those mistakes or sit in a corner. What can you tell them? Where can they go to develop that skill?
When you go into a networking meeting,
where your name's. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, when you go into a networking meeting, wear your name tag upside down. Because then people will talk to, hey, your name tag's upside down. Oh, thanks. Hey, I'm Chris. just you gotta find little quirky things.
Oh, next time I see someone with a name tag upside down, I'll be like, Chris, don't you? That's you, sneaky little guy, you.
Or you just, it's. I mean, I know a lot of writers are very introverted. It's par for the course, but you got to start thinking, okay, introverted means I'm not going to get paid. And that's what it boils down to. If I don't open my mouth, I'm not going to get paid. Because I think that plagues a lot of writers. I wrote this great book. Why is no one buying it?
Yeah.
Because in your mind, I've just written this bestseller. This is awesome. But my Amazon sales don't reflect that.
Yeah.
And it's just, people buy from who they know, like, and trust. You got to have that visibility portion. So that's why networking is important. Visibility. You let people see you. They need to know you're out there. Then the credibility portion is, of course, you guys getting to know each other's businesses, what you do, what you write, who you know. And then the profitability part comes from, okay, now I know you, I like you, I trust you. I'm going to start buying your book, or getting people, or I'm going to help you get speaking engagements to sell your book, or help you with book readings, or help you promote your book. And then in turn, I'm looking to you to help me, refer me to things, because you know people that I may not know. So there's that whole give and take of building that networking relationship.
And that doesn't happen overnight. I think we were joking around about that.
It takes time. It takes time. There's a thing, I think they call it the referral confidence curve, where just depending on what you do, what profession you're in, it can take more time than others. As a writer, like I said, you're looked upon as a connector already, just because by nature people think that writers are cool, one. And two, that you talk to lots of people.
Yeah. You wrote a book. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So people are naturally curious about you because, oh, wow, you wrote a book. How'd you do that? And they want to know. Yeah. So, it's a great and easy way for you to connect with people.
I wish people were like that with podcasts. Like, I have a podcast. I get, what's a podcast? So I'm still working on that. One of these days, I'll be like, you have a podcast. Can I have your autograph?
No, right? One day.
Someday. I could dream, right?
Hey, we can all dream. Hey, I've got one too. I'm hoping that one day that it gets that same cool factor you're looking for. I'm
going to name drop a little bit here, your book here, so I don't forget. The Art of Business Writing A Practical Guide to the Life. Oh, I can't read it. I can't read the. You know what? I knew The Art and Business of Writing, but I did not get the subtitle. And we were talking as I was writing, and I didn't finish writing it. So why don't you say it? It's terrible.
Yeah. The name of the book is The Art and Business of Writing: A Practical Guide to the Writing Life.
There you go. That was that last word. It says Avatar, so I mixed my notes up. Mr. Amateur here. Here I go.
But the book is blue though. You were close.
Yes. Yeah. So the last part of the book, you really already kind of got into it here, but is promoting your brand. And you talk, and it somewhat is like promoting yourself and networking, but you really have to kind of push yourself out there, and there's a fine line between over inundating it and over self-promoting and being good at sharing your story. And Chris, you're very good at it. I have not felt, I follow you on Facebook, and I don't feel spammed by you. It seems very sincere. So talk a little bit about that, about what promoting your brand means, and a little bit on how they could do it.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I've learned over time is, people buy you. And so basically when I'm promoting, I'm selling me. I'm not really selling the book so much. I mean, the book is a part of me, but it's not me. So I'm trying to sell people on me. So when I'm doing promotion, like right now I'm working on trying to book myself with lots of public speaking. So I'm talking about, hey, I wrote a book, but hey, these are the things I can talk about. And so I talk about all these ideas that I can talk about, which are also found in the book, but I'm putting myself forward. The book is just the credibility indicator in that regard. Then when I want to do signings, then I'll talk about the book. Hey, here, the book is this, the book is that, the book is this. So it all depends on what audience you're looking at. So you have to basically you have to cater yourself to the audience you're looking at. So
you cut out there for a second. You said cater yourself to the audience you're looking at.
Right. You have to cater your message to the audience that you're looking for. So if you're looking, like I said, you're looking to do more public speaking, then it's about you. Book second. If you're looking to do more book signings, then it's book you second.
Okay. And then you talk about Facebook, and again, this is such great in-depth detail here in the book. You talk about Facebook, which is probably the only area that I need to do better at the other areas, but Facebook, Twitter, Google+, LinkedIn, and you like Pinterest too.
I do like Pinterest, and I don't like Pinterest as a place to, like, I don't look at it as the black hole that my wife looks at it as. I'll sit there at 3:00 in the morning, out of the corner of my eye, I feel blue light.
That's funny.
No, it's not. No, Pinterest for me is it's more of my swipe filing. So okay. I'm looking at Pinterest to give me ideas. I'm looking at Pinterest to give me quotes, book cover design ideas, and motivational things. Anything that I can incorporate into a future work or something that's gonna inspire me to something else later. I'm always thinking about, okay, I'm not sure where I'll use this, but I know I will.
Okay, so that's more of a consumption tool for
you.
It is.
It's basically a digital swipe file.
Okay,
and storing ideas. Pinterest is just store ideas, magazine layouts, whatever it may be. I'm looking at interesting things on Pinterest.
Okay, cool. And then for the people listening, he goes into you go into the swipe, what swipe is.
Yeah, swipe filing. Yeah, what swipe filing is. Yeah,
and that's basically a way to store ideas when they come to you.
Yeah, that's all you do. I learned that whole process years ago from John Maxwell. He had this quote which says, "I read, I write, I think, I file every day." So every day he reads a while, he writes a while, he spends time thinking about the stuff he's reading and writing, and then he goes and finds like magazines and things online. He starts to file things away with these ideas that fit within his niche.
Yeah. Oh man, this is such great stuff. So I have to ask you about this book signing party or book selling party or whatever it was. I saw it on Facebook. How did that feel? Yeah. That must have felt like you've reached the mountaintop.
It's funny. It was twofold. I reached the mountaintop, but then I was back at the bottom again.
So here we go. Back to, like we said, you wrote the book.
Back to the mountaintop. I've written the book. People are excited. Now I'm back on the valley. I've got to climb the mountain again because now I've got to make this thing work. I've got to sell it. I've got to push it. I've got to promote it.
That's right.
That's the next big thing.
Yeah, because people forget about it real quick, right?
Yeah. I've got this. I tell my wife all the time. I've got the Don Shula rule. And so Don Shula, the ex-Miami Dolphins football coach, had this one rule. He said, you've got 24 hours to sulk in your failure or rejoice in your success. So Saturday was about 24 hours. I went and we, had the party, took my wife out to dinner, had a great time, and I was back to work on Sunday.
Man, you look like $1 million. You look like you're on top of the world, and you deserve that. This is a big deal, and you're going to learn even more through this whole process. You're gonna grow, and you're gonna have so much more to share, and that's the value you're gonna bring to future clients, right? Because that's part of what you do is mentoring.
Yeah, part of it is that right now I'm currently working on developing a coaching program to go with the book, with a lot of the themes of the book, but then expand upon that so I can really help people one-on-one and meet them where they are, and then tailor it towards whatever it is they're struggling with to help them become better writers, better marketers, whatever it is that they need.
Oh man, that's great. Before I let you go, a couple quick questions or advice, because there's people like, okay, what's the advice here? You kind of answered some of these, but I'm thinking of like the guy, as we said, the guy with kids or the spouse or just really busy. What can you tell them to keep their head in the game, to not give up? Because this is hard, right?
Yeah, it's difficult. It's great. I learned this again from Kate Erickson. Theme out your days. That's the only way I survive. I theme out my days. So Sunday is writing day. Monday is, social media day. Tuesday is blogging day. Just theme out your days. That way you don't go crazy trying to do everything at one time or feel pressure. But now you've got these days where every day has a particular theme, so I can focus on a particular idea that day, and I feel like I'm making headway every single day.
Yeah, and then I think you talked about this too, is when you're with your family. Gary Vaynerchuk's like known for this, right? He's with his family. He's not on social media or any of this stuff. So when you're with your family, you're with your family. So when you're writing, you don't feel guilty for not being with your family.
No, not at all. Not at all. My family they're really good about it. Like the first thing I do, when I get off from work, I come home, I relieve my wife, I'll take care of the children, get them all situated, then to bed at 7:30, and then she's like, hey, okay, it's up to you, it's whatever you want to do. Her and I, we get our time in between. We always, kind of our thing has been like, whatever time we have, it's the best time we have. So if we only have 10 minutes today, then let's make the best 10 minutes together that we've got all day long. But, she understands. Like, she understands what I'm trying to do. She's been the one, like the biggest cheerleader, just encouraging me to do this. So I've been kind of persistent about making sure it gets done. But, yeah, I think just making sure that you take care of your family first, you have no problems at that point. Your family will definitely support your work.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And then the last thing I wanted to ask you about here was, I've interviewed a couple guys that are writing books. They're blogging, and they're writing their books from their blog. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Like using your blog. I'm thinking about doing the same thing too. Spoiler alert.
It's a smart way to do it. Mark Cuban wrote his first book that way. It's a smart way to write your book. Because then you get it tested against an audience. If people choose to comment, if not, it's there. But yeah, you write a blog post a week, you pretty much have your book done by the end of the year. Then it's just a matter of just pulling it all together
and editing it.
But I think it's a very smart idea for people who want to write books but aren't sure where to go. I know that with the way I wrote my book in such a way that I wanted to make sure that if each chapter had to stand alone, it could.
Yeah, certainly the sections, without even thinking about it, the sections clearly stand alone. And I couldn't argue with you on any of the chapters. They all stand alone. And that's a good thing about that book is you could read a little bit of it now and then get to that point in your writing career and then come back to it or whatever. This is a note that this is a book that you almost really want to have the hard copy of it. Maybe start, and I have the Kindle, but you want to write in it and dog ear it and all that good stuff because it's almost a reference. It's more than just a reference book.
Well, that's how I wrote it. I wrote it to be a reference. That way, you don't have to read it. If you want to read it straight through, feel free. If you want to start with the middle, start in the middle. Start at the end. Start anywhere that you feel like you've got some sort of problematic area.
Yeah.
With your writing life.
And the resources alone, the links and the resources that you point to Man, that's half the reason why I listen to all the podcasts I listen to, because I love to hear, like, what are these people using?
Yeah.
Tools.
Exactly. I know it's funny when I do my podcast and I'll ask a writer, hey, so tell me what cool things you're using. Like, I just use Microsoft Word. I'm like, come on, man.
I know you said pencil and paper. I'm like, come on, man. I need some gems.
I'm just like the people I interview.
Oh, that's man, that's so funny. I'm trying to think. There was one more question, and it just slipped out of my head what I was gonna. This happens all the time. This is just, I could smell the spaghetti sauce cooking downstairs. So I'm like, okay. I forget what I was gonna ask you. One more question there, but tell the world where they can find you, because this is the most important thing, is how they can connect with you after they hear this.
Yeah. So you can find me at Chris at chrisjonesinc.com. That's my email address. The website, of course, is www.chrisjonesinc.com. The book, you can access the book at book.chrisjonesinc.com. And then you can find me on social media, at Chris Jones Inc. So Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, what else? Instagram. You can find me at all those places. I'm at Chris Jones Inc. Yeah, I spend most of my time on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. So.
And that's Inc with a K. Inc with a K.
I-N-K. Yes, like a writer.
You might want to buy both domains. I don't know. It might be important to buy, in case people think Inc because it's business. I-N-C. I don't know, but that's funny.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a domain. There we go. More domains to buy. Chris, this has been a lot of fun, and there's so much information here. This is definitely one where people.
I think we just touched the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, people are gonna have to listen to this again. They're gonna have to listen. Oh, you have a podcast too. They can listen to your podcast and get more of you. It's the same title as your book, right?
It's The Art and Business of Writing, and you can get it. It's iTunes at iTunes.chrisjonesinc.com or Stitcher.chrisjonesinc.com, and it'll link you right directly to either one.
And you had a guy named Rocco DeLeo on that. Must have been your most downloaded file ever. I don't know. I hope it didn't break the server.
I gotta notice some Libsyn.
You're gonna have to up this guy here. Who's this Rocco guy? He's breaking the system.
The $50 service there.
I think I followed Kate Erickson, and then after me was Kamanzi Constable. I'm like, wow. Well, these rock stars, and then there's me. It's just, again, this whole fun internet and Skype and podcasting.
It is, and just so one great parting shot, man, for any writer, man. There's a quote that I keep around me, and it says you have to ASK to GET, man. If you want to find people, if you want to connect with influencers, man, they are there. They want to talk to you. Just ask them whatever you want. Go on Twitter, have a conversation, shoot them an email. Most people will get back to you. It's this whole demystifying. Oh my gosh, that person is like so hard to get a hold of. No, they're really not. They're just like you and I, just a little busier.
I've only had one person say no, and it wasn't a celebrity or someone. It was a doctor. I wanted to she wrote like a little book or what. I wanted her to talk about something. I don't remember what it was, but she just said I'm too busy.
People want to share the secret sauce, man. They do. They really do.
We love to talk. Chris, it's been fun. I appreciate it, and stay in touch, man.
Absolutely. Thanks, Rocco.